I am going to show you how we make apple cider vinegar. Last year, we were given a bunch of apples from a friend. We made applesauce, also canned apple butter. We made a couple apple pies. It was great. But I felt really guilty just composting all of the skins and the peels. I thought, you know, there could be something else that we could do with them and turn it into another type of food or something useful for our family. What I did was made apple cider vinegar just from the peels and the cores, and it turned out fantastic. This is all we have left. We had about 3 of these, and I want to tell you this type of apple cider vinegar that we're making is with the mother. So you can see the SCOBY that lives down here in the bottom, and this mother that is in here is just like a bacteria and yeast that's growing, and it's really good for you. When we make apple cider vinegar, we start off with a couple of empty mason jars. Another thing that you're going to need is some sugar. We don't normally keep sugar in our house, but we just started carrying it in our house for growing different type of yeasts and healthy bacteria for like scobies, such as kombucha and apple cider vinegar. And then we have done a little canning with some jams and jellies with sugar. But normally we like to sweeten all of our baked goods with honey or maple syrup or dates. If you do not have a starter mother from a previous batch, what you can buy from the grocery store is apple cider vinegar, and as long as it says on the label with the mother, you can buy that, and a small bottle should be fine. So the last thing you're gonna need is apples. For apple cider vinegar, it really doesn't matter what variety you use, preferably organic apples, because you're going to be saving the skins, and just wash them really well, and that's it. And let's get started. I like to peel things with a knife. I am left-handed, and it just makes things so much easier for me, and I feel like it goes a lot faster as well. So that's what I like to do. Okay, so we're just dropping the peels right into there, and then I'm going to save this meat part of the apple for later. I want to cover it so that it's not exposed to too much air and starts turning brown, because I'm not really sure at this point what I'm going to be doing with them. I know I'm going to be making a pie and applesauce, but for right now, I'm just going to put a cover over it. And here is the core. I'll just drop that right into our mason jar. So it looks like our jar is starting to get full. When that happens, you'll just want to, with very clean hands, start to push it down, because you want this as packed as possible. And then take these delicious apples and save them. These peels and prep. Leave a comment below and let me know what you like to do with your apples in the fall season. Do you like to can them? Do you like to make pies? I would love to hear about it. So we've reached the top of all 3 jars, and we've got plenty of apples to make pies and applesauce. This one could be pushed down a little bit further, because you want to make sure that your apples are not sticking above the water. The next thing you want to do is you're going to need your sugar. Now, all of the cultures that are in these apples, they're going to feed on the sugars, and they're going to grow into a SCOBY, or what we call a mother. I don't really have a science to this for our recipe. This is just what worked for us last year. This is what we did, and it came out fantastic. The apple cider vinegar smelled wonderful, and the mother was very healthy, and it was great. So what I want to do is add in 2 tablespoons. I know that sounds like a lot for those of you who don't do sugar right now. So 2 tablespoons per quart jar. These living cultures in here, that's what they live on, is they're going to live on the sugar. So they're going to eat up most of the sugar. And then for the larger one, I'll probably just do 4. I don't have like a formula or a method to this. I'm sure there's one out there, but like I said in the video, this is how we make our apple cider vinegar. What I like to add in is the mother. So when you reach the bottom, if you're buying a store-bought apple cider vinegar and you reach the bottom, you can probably pour into like another mason jar just to get to the bottom. You're gonna wanna get to the cloudy part of the bottom of the jar, and that has bits of the culture that we need in it. So for these smaller jars, I'm just gonna add a tablespoon or 2 for each quart jar. 2, that's a healthy batch. Some of the mother came out for that one. Okay, and then for the larger one, I'm probably just gonna add a 1/4 cup. And add that right in. And now for the very last part, it's really easy. We just top it off with water. All the way to the top. You wanna make sure that your apples are covered. Some of the apples are gonna float, some of them are not. If you find that your bits of apples are floating, you can put a glass weight on top, the kind you use for fermenting. You can put that on to just push them down under, or you can use like a cabbage leaf or something, or maybe a big chunk of the apple, like this one here, and help push it down. And then if it were to get a little bit moldy, you can probably just toss it. Everything looks great. Everything is under the water. And so now what I want to do is, we have these really small children's napkins, and it's pretty breathable. So next what you want to do is just cover them to keep the gnats out, and then screw a mason jar ring right on top. Some people like to put a regular lid on and give it a really good shake, which actually is a good idea. So let's actually do that. I always like to pack these jars really tightly so that way the apple slices don't float up. So if they're packed in so tight, they'll kind of just stay put, which is a good thing because you want your apple slices to be, or apple peels, apple cores, to be submerged under the water. Then you'll want to put on your cloth. This cloth is to keep the gnats out. You will want to keep these jars in a nice, dark, cool place. I just happened to stick them in one of the shelves that we have here. It was dark enough in there. I did not have any experiences with mold last year. I've heard of some people having experiences with mold, but I didn't have that with any of my jars. And then you'll want to just put on your plastic cap, give it a really good shake, make sure that the apples are still being submerged under the water, and that's it. You want to leave it in a dry, dark, cool place for about, we did a month. So we left it there just like this for a month. We shook it occasionally, and then after a month, that's when we drained the apples, gave the apples to our chickens because they were nice and fermented, and then put a lid on the jar and left it probably for about another month. After a month of being just like this, I opened it and smelt it, and it smelled like nail polish. I was like, oh no, I did something terribly wrong. This is not going well at all. I still continued with the process. I drained it, I strained it, and then I put a lid on it and put it in the pantry for about another month, and then I smelt it, and it smelt delicious. It smelled like apple cider vinegar. It was wonderful. So if at some point you come and you smell it and it smells like nail polish, you're not done yet. So keep going. I hope that this video has inspired you to make your own apple cider vinegar, and I thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next time.